Hello, welcome. Short look at TeamsFx and how to use SQLite and generic forms for your next Teams developer demo. We're going to do something that the product group from the source code generator from C# actually doesn't want you to do, but for a demo thingy. So that's all about today, about a little bit how you can be fast in pre-sales environments. That's okay, but right off the top, don't do that in production, please. So that's me, short and sweet couple of possibilities to reach me afterwards, and of course, keep the questions coming. Hopefully everyone in this call is somehow in business. I guess I know quite a few people in the call. A few of us are consultants, a few of us are in internal IT, but hopefully our businesses are working splendidly and we sell our goods or sell our work, whatever it is, but we are in the business of selling something. Selling something means we need to work with salespeople, of course. And apologies to every salesperson in that call, you will be my target of joking in the next couple of minutes. Because why? Yes, we all know that of course you can use whatever random product name to migrate your ERP solution to the cloud, right? That's something that we all live through, but this talk especially is focused on how we as developers maybe can be a little bit better or maybe a little bit faster and working together with our dear friends from the sales team. So a small one-on-one how to make your salesperson happy. First of all, be responsive. And by be responsive, and responsive is on purpose, quote unquote, because responsive means in that case not to be in different shape and form depending on your screen resolution, but they normally like you when you are quickly and fast with your answers. Another good thing would be that you understand the problem quickly. Of course, you need to answer all the technical questions, and then you need to, of course, create stunning demos. And that's actually the thing that we want to do today. Just short for reference, we are going to build something in TeamsFx. This is the one platform slide that shows you what you can do with the Microsoft Teams platform. And we're focusing on this area over here, so web technologies with TeamsFx. That's it from the slides. So let's move over to some demo code. I already started the demo over here. So what we're going to looking at is something that is a tab inside of Teams. And apologies for the UI isn't really great because I realized only earlier today that will not be able to share actually our internal or our customer project because it is all branded and there are so many names in there. So I went and created a new Blazor project and morphed it into Teams quickly this morning. So apologies for the design, but you are all here to learn something. And by learning something, we're looking at technology. So hopefully you accept that little glitch that we are using basically the boilerplate from a Blazor server application inside of Teams, of course. The application is pretty simple. We have here some menu entries, and in that screen, for example, we could manage our car inventory. The idea is that for a lot of demos, we need to create something in way of a form where customers are able to put data into it and then we can play with it. And what I learned in the last 10 years, it's really, really cool if you are able, and maybe you're a team of 2 persons and you're trying to really understand your customer. And one of you is actually talking with the customer. Another one sits on your screen or on the computer and creates some mockups. Doesn't need to be perfect, just that you are on the same page. Just that you have a tooling and a way of communication to be quicker in understanding each other and to be quicker from the technical part of side to understand the business case, but also for the business user to have the opportunity to really understand, and sorry for the Microsoft jargon, but the art of the possible. Always wanted to say that in a demo, but really to understand what's possible in terms from the technology here, and that really helps. What we can do here is, for example, let's change the plate number of this nice car here, change it to 13, and then we submit it, and then it's fine. In the background, and we're starting with the demo, and then we go to the tech stack. But what happened actually is that we stored that in our SQLite database over here. So let me make a refresh here. Query, select, and play. You see the 13 here. So SQLite super easy, super quick database tool that you can use inside of your .NET application. And that's just a way of, okay, we can showcase our customer that we can use data in a normal SQL way. And we will see in the code how easy it is to set up. And maybe also if you take parts of it to something that really is then going to be a solution or a product, how easy it is actually to convert this to maybe Azure Cosmos DB, for example. But SQLite, local stuff to develop, really, really easy. If you search with your search engine of choice, you will see that people are using SQLite inside of Azure Functions, inside of other Azure services, just because, yeah, it's free. So that's a cool thing. And we still are able to, let's say, quote unquote, develop in a proper way with it. But you see here with this application, we have here cars, we have here ships, and we have a different entities, and it's always the same. Yeah, we can create new stuff, we could delete existing stuff, or we can update our products. That's why it's already hinting something, calling it product over here. So some kind of generic mechanism may be included. My backup demo for today would be a PnP demo slots. Again, speaker name, topic, timestamp, and account, maybe how often this or the speaker already spoken in let's say a year, or I don't know if Blazor keeps track of everyone and there's a big statistic, but yeah, just some random data fields, and to be able to then in a demo scenario be quickly up and running with a form, and you can actually really talk about the business case and how it feels and really see it on the screen. How can we achieve that in Teams? Pretty, yeah, not saying the whole generation of it is easy, but when you are at a certain point, then it's really easy how to extend that one over here. So let's move over to Visual Studio, and I stop my debugging session now, and I will explain the technical part from what you just saw, and in the end, we hopefully will be able to add another entity and see the whole thing working. What you're having here is a solution that includes multiple projects. For the demo of today, we'll focus on the SQLite demo Teams app. That's basically a TeamsFx Blazor server application. If you are not familiar with Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio, there is, I think, at least 5 or 6 videos already on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel explaining and introducing you to the topic. We won't go into the deep down into the Teams stuff in order of the TeamsFx. We want to focus more on what we can achieve after the entry level. So if you're not familiar with that, just after this call, head over to YouTube and then basically take the basic lesson and then maybe come back to this video tomorrow or after the day tomorrow when it is available again. So that makes me more sense if you're really not familiar with TeamsFx at all right now. But from that project, or from that solution, we're also using a source code generator over here. So you see there's the SQL data demo generator, and we know that this is actually a source code generator because if you look at how this project is set up, you see in my TeamsFx project over here, the package reference, I'm including, or is it down here, my SQLite data demo generator with this output item type analyzer. And that basically tells Visual Studio we are including what's called a source code generator. That's basically something that is on top of all things that Visual Studio offers us in terms of analyzers. And those analyzers are not only able to analyze your code, but you're also able now to create code based on your code. So what does that do? If you look at the file over here, we are going through the syntax tree of the compilation. How does this work? Actually, before this project over here is finally ready to get compiled, our source code generator does a pre-step. So before Visual Studio sends everything for compilation, we are creating additional stuff. And we are creating this additional stuff based on code that's already in our project over here. So that's why we are going through the syntax tree, and we are looking for a file called mydbcontext.c#. That's something we will see in a couple of seconds. It's a file part of my Teams project over here. And in this file, we are looking for a specific element. Let's find the code to see what we're looking at. We are searching for an identifier with the value of db set, because in our service class, we are using entity framework. And with entity framework, we're using db sets to basically define our objects, our entities, then get stored and used with entity framework. And the code over here basically looks at the syntax tree, looks at the generated code of your project, and then let's say in a high-level world, put some additional layers, some additional files in there. How are we going to do that? We create basically source classes. So we can say context at source, we give it a name, and then we basically inject a big string into that method. And that string, just for reference once, let's open a sample over here. You see here, to get the database service class, for example, everything is working with big strings, and those strings get filled with our properties, and basically those things generate our classes that then are used in the complete project at compile time. But we are not only creating C# files, we are also creating Razor files. So we are also creating Razor components over here. You see it here. I'm just using file, write all text, and create a Razor page. And actually, those kind of lines over here, that's the thing that you should not do in a production project. Because everything that is built with .C#, you see, you can say context at source. So the source code generators are really meant to create another class level, another class file, because then Visual Studio takes care of everything. What we are actually doing is that we create our own folder over here with auto-generated Razor files and reuse that capability to create our own files in here. The problem with that is if you're just using, let's say, in the end of the day, we'll use like 15 files. That's not really a problem. But if you're building source code generators, most of the time you're speaking of hundreds or thousands of files that get generated. And they get generated basically every time you save something in Visual Studio. And you won't do that in terms of that you really create your class files, like really like files on a disk, like I do over here. You should do it like this, because this is basically in memory only. So it's not going to make a load on your disk, and it's not going to defragmentize your disk and all those kind of things. So that's why the product group of the source code generators is like, yeah, maybe, yeah, you can do it. It's technically possible, but it's maybe not be the smartest move to do in a production wide. But for our demo case, it's really, really a cool thing. Because what we actually can do now is that we can go over to our data folder and have a look at our different entity classes. For example, our car class or our ship class that we saw earlier. And then let's create a new class over here. And we're not going to actually create a new class. We, of course, have something prepared over here. So we create or copy this file over here and paste it. And then we do the old trick of rename a file and remove the text ending, and ta-da, if we press yes, we have our horse class in here. And you cannot do a PnP demo without a reference to a warrior horse, right? And of course, you cannot create a horse entity without some column formatting and view formatting fields, because horses are designed that way. But with that, what we also can do now is that we can go into our DB context. That's actually what we're searching for in our source code generator. And then we create public a DB set of type horse. Here we are. Horses. Oh, where is that over here? Let's copy it from that one. Command V. Do we need to save that first, or why? Let me fix that later. We also annotate it with our own marker here, because we might create something that we don't want to use in our project over like this. Let me just check for a second why we don't get this here. This looks nice. What's the problem with you? Did I miswrite something? No. Huh. Cool effect. Let's try to build that. Maybe we have some issues with a new created file. Could not be found. Maybe the renaming wasn't the smartest thing. And I'm running out of time. But actually, when we, sorry for that, but when this class actually would be referenced in my context file, automatically we would generate those files over here. And you see the Razor file actually got created already. So we already created our horse form, for example. So we see an edit font over here, we see a grid component over here, and we see a page over here. And I'm running out of time, so I'm not do the demo in the full again, but the only thing that actually stops me now for pressing F5 and seeing this horse class resembled also in my application is two things. I would need to say add migration for my entity framework to be recognized in terms of that the database knows actually my class. And then it would say update database. And with that, it automatically, you saw already here, it creates the Razor pages in here. And then I would be able to reuse basically the code from the source code generator in my project. And the only thing that I would need to create in a demo case is a new data element here, and then we're good to go.
So actually, back within the demo, I have no exact idea what actually happened at the live demo in the call, but I just deleted our horse file and created it again. And it seems now it works. So it looks like the renaming effort wasn't the smartest move. But with that, we still need to do one more thing. So we ended in the previous video basically with me failing in the demo and not be able to showcase our horse efforts, our warrior horse efforts as a generic form. So we still need to deploy our database connection. I open up the package manager over here. Let me make that a little bit bigger down there and add a new migration. So that's the way to tell the EF core framework that we have a new entity present. Add migration horses. Let's see, build succeed. That looks good. So it actually opens up the migration file where it basically shows in code how Visual Studio should interact, our code should interact with the EF core framework and SQLite. I will say update database as well. That looks good. Now let's press the play button over here and rebuild and deploy and debug locally our solution. Need to switch from that monitor over here. We install our SQLite demo app. And here we are with our horses entry in the menu. And if I click here, no horse basically is present. Let us double check that in SQLite. Reload the tables. Yep, you see horses are here. That's because we actually interact with the entity framework core. Move that to the side a bit. What would be a good horse name? I don't know. Not so creative now. Let's call him or her fast runner. 5 years, color black. Yeah. No idea. Copy that once. Copy it twice. Submit. No, I don't want to save information edge. Thank you. You see, it's over here in our grid view. And if we look in our SQLite Studio, we go to the horses, make an query here for select, press play, and you see our fast runner here. So that was the actual plan to show. Needed 3 more minutes. So thank you now for your attention, and hopefully see you soon in the next PnP Microsoft 365 community call.
So with that, one more thing in terms of what we saw over here. So the use of TeamsFx to scaffold the Teams tab in the Blazor project, Entity Framework Core to manage data in SQLite, the source code generators, and we're using generic forms from, I hope, Gérard Beret from Microsoft MVP of Visual Studio, who has the forms basically that I'm using here. Show you some Warrior Host code as well. And back to David.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomy.